Hello, welcome. Welcome, everybody. So if you are looking for the webinar on business resources from the California Office of the Small Business Advocate, you are in the right place. My name is Amanda Gerke. I'm with the City of Alameda's Community Development Department. We will do introductions in a minute, but first I just want to give a few technical notes. Any questions you have, you can submit through the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We won't be taking questions through the chat function, but if you're having technical difficulties or need to communicate for any reason with me, you can do that through the chat function. We also will be recording this presentation and posting it on our website. So I'll send a follow-up link to everyone who registered for the webinar today with the recording of the webinar. And this webinar is being brought to you by a partnership between the City of Alameda and the Alameda Chamber of Commerce. So I'd like to take a minute for a special introduction. We're joined by Madeline Sadek, who is the president and CEO of the Alameda Chamber of Commerce. Today, we also have Lois Butler, who's Economic Development Manager with the City of Alameda, and Eric Fonstein, who's a Development Manager with the City of Alameda. And with that, I'd like to introduce our presenter today. Today, we are joined by Chris Earle. He's the Southern California Regional Advisor with the Office of the Small Business Advocate, which is part of the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris for his presentation.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. And give me one moment, everyone, to share my screen here. We'll get started. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Seemed to be getting a bit of a delay. All right. So again, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christopher Earle. I'm the Southern California Regional Advisor for the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. We refer to ourselves as Cal OSPA, and so that'll be how I refer to our office throughout the presentation. We are an independent office within the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. So we have our own set of priorities and a mission within our office that that is small business focused. So in outside circles, they call us the Small Business Office. I am getting a delay. Here we go. All right. So the next slide here is our Cal OSBA mission and objectives. I'm not going to read it verbatim for you, but essentially, I wanted to emphasize that we are the voice for small business. We focus on representing the views and interests of the small business community, and we make sure, or at least our mission is to make sure that small businesses have access to equitable capital markets and resources, as well as networks to make sure that our state successfully grows and is more resilient, especially, and I want to emphasize resiliency because I think that's a key term as we progress out of the COVID situation. And so a lot of our activities and programming is based in resilience and developing programming resources and highlighting best practices to help and aid the small business community, progress out of this, out of the COVID situation. So, and again, obviously information and resources, advocacy, and again, resiliency are our core three areas that we focus on. So moving on to this slide here is just wanted to highlight our California Business Center network, which we fund annually to the tune of about $17 million. And we partner with our federally contracted partners. So examples of those organizations would be Small Business Development Center, better known as SBDCs, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, as well as women's business centers in California. And so select centers within those networks also are recipients of state funding to aid small businesses within the statewide priority sectors, which I'll allude to a little bit later in some of the later slides. And we do that by obviously the one-on-one consulting, which if you're familiar with those organizations, they provide a lot of one-on-one consulting as well as training and webinars to assist small businesses in key areas in the business development area. And so as we as we're working through this recovery and resilience, we're looking to always identify new and innovative ways to serve the businesses better, to make sure that we are inclusive as we move forward in the COVID recovery. And so, again, I just wanted to emphasize that the Cal OSBA offices is the advocate, the voice for small business. And so examples of that may look like me as a Southern California representative or regional advisor, speaking directly to small businesses. I hear the good, bad, and indifferent from the small businesses. So, for me, it's my role to kind of take that feedback and communicate that to Sacramento, so that if we're identifying trends or things that are happening, maybe there's policy, which is also a part of our office. So if there's things that we notice that can be corrected through policy change or things of that nature, we will advocate for those policy changes. And so I can give you some of those examples as well. But here in this slide, I wanted to highlight a few of the programs throughout the overall GoBiz office, not selecting specifically from our office, but the CA Rebuilding Fund. It's a pretty straightforward program. It's our affordable loan and services program for small businesses. And the site there is caloanfund.org. Please don't write any of this down. I'll make the slides available for everyone. And again, the next program is our new tax relief programs, which is a sales tax and a Main Street tax business hiring tax credit program. And that program falls under our counterparts in the CalBiz office. So a lot of our cities and counties work directly with the CalBiz team in terms of permitting and incentives for small businesses. So they would be more familiar with the CalBiz team and the tax programs under that unit there. And so we partner and collaborate with them to ensure the businesses are covered and, in each phase of their growth throughout the business. So just wanted to highlight some of those programs. And then kind of the big program that's kind of taken everyone's attention recently is the Small Business COVID-19 Relief Grant Program. That program did fall under our office, under Isabel Guzman. We initially were authorized for $500 million to provide grants in late 2020. And so we advocated for additional funding to California legislature. And so they approved additional funding of $2.075 billion, which have provided the funding for the rounds we are currently in, which have started with rounds 3 through 6, which are part of that new legislative funding. And so the program provided micro grants between $5,000 and $25,000 to eligible small businesses and nonprofits impacted by COVID-19 and other related health and safety restrictions. And the site is listed there, careliefgrant.com. And again, please don't write any of this down. I'll make them available for you. And just to dive a little deeper into the COVID Relief Grant Program, again, the grants were up to $25K, and I'm not going to repeat the reasons as I've stated in the last slide. And just kind of wanted to reiterate the additional funding that was approved by the California legislature of $2.075 billion went specifically to rounds 3 through 6, as the first tranche of funding was for rounds 1 and 2. And so as I have highlighted here in the dates, we are actually round 6 began today. And so we'll have that window of applications open over the next week, which will include currently waitlisted applicants as well as new applicants looking for funding through the program. And so if you are a small business, or if you know any small business owners that have not applied or are not aware of this program, please alert them to the program and have them apply before May the 4th. And then lastly, I wanted to highlight Lendistry, which was awarded our RFA to be our, intermediaries, what we're calling them, and they're a CDFI mission lender. And so they were authorized to be in charge of the disbursement of funds to the small businesses. And they were supported by our partner network, which consisted of 500 partners across the state, which included service providers, nonprofits, you name it. If they had a hand in helping small businesses, we kind of solicited them to assist with helping small businesses get through this application process. it was a non-traditional process, and so we wanted to have as many boots on the ground to assist small businesses with this effort. And so that's kind of the high level overview of the COVID relief grant program here. And again, I wanted to dive a little deeper into some of our priority areas, which mainly consist of access to capital and connections to capital, as well as access to markets. We oftentimes like to be able to tie in federal relief programs and in terms of, complementing things that we're doing here at the state or and vice versa. And so some of our state programs that you can see here, iBank, the California Loan Fund, and the CalCap program on the Treasurer Mall. And then you also have the access to markets, which is one of the priority areas for me is supply chains and procurement. I'll take a brief moment to mention, I don't have a slide for it yet, but we just announced, I think 2 weeks ago, Supply Diversity Initiative, which is called Source Diverse, Source Local, which is focused on strengthening California supply chains and focusing on sourcing with local and diverse businesses. There's a lot of activity in terms of procurement outside of the state of California. And we've all seen, the effects of the supply chains and how that has impacted California in terms of, how our ability to get products and manufacture items and things of that nature. So, with this initiative, we want to really focus on strengthening California's supply chains and not only being inclusive from a demographic to include special priority groups, but also to include our rural areas. Me personally, I live in the Inland Empire region, so we're adjacent to Los Angeles. So a lot of times, you hear about all the great things happening in Los Angeles, and the Inland Empire may be kind of left in the dust or kind of behind the times when it comes to some of those things. And so we want to make sure that areas that are more rural in nature that may not have, those resources, kind of in their metropolitan areas, to still be able to have access to those resources. And so that's what this program is about. And a part of that is education of the small businesses, as well as teaching them how to navigate the procurement process both from a public standpoint as well as from a private. This one's actually focused on our corporate partners, which consists of Lockheed Martin, Google, United Airlines, excuse me, I'm drawing a blank on the others. United Airlines, and there's a few others that if you go to our website, business.ca.org, you can see the press release and some of the more detailed information on the initiative. And so that's one of my priority areas. I was able to help participate and lead in that initiative. So excited about the programming that will be coming from that. And so please reach out to me if you have any questions or if you like to engage in that program. Happy to share more information and details on that. And then secondly, e-commerce is another one of our priority areas. In the next slide, I'll kind of go into some more details about our e-commerce initiative. So I won't delve into that too much. And then global trade and exports is also another one of our priority areas. And so, so those key areas are the, priority areas of our office. As we also focus in innovation and access to capital is always one of our key overlaying priorities as well. So just wanted to highlight those priority areas when it comes to the small business focus. And then here in this slide, I just wanted to highlight Get Digital California. If you've seen my background, it's our e-commerce initiative aimed at promoting e-commerce adoption for small businesses to build and compete online. I think essentially, a lot of the areas within the state are heavily, have heavy density with mom and pop, micro enterprises, businesses with, less than 5 or 10 employees. And so a lot of times there hasn't been an exposure to having an online or e-commerce presence. And so with this program, we've developed a technology learning center, training such as digital boot camps that we've kicked off in Fresno, as well as in Southern California, as well as what's called digital pop-up festivals. festivals. With this initiative, if you're interested as a city or a county or as a regional partner to, want to use, this initiative to promote to your small businesses, please get in touch with me. I'll be able to kind of help point you in the right direction and get connected with our team on that programming. There's a lot of resources and materials that you could utilize for yourself and kind of go from there. So happy to share more information on that as well if you're interested. And then this slide here is more so to share resources about our disaster preparedness and resilience slide. This one, we have what's called like an Outsmart Disaster, which is more like a resource guide for small businesses to kind of test their resiliency. How prepared are they for disasters when they occur? So there includes like a checklist and kind of some scenario-based things that can kind of, drive the thinking of the small business owners as they kind of build their business and kind of set some of their back end processes and things of that nature when it comes to disaster. What does that look like for them? Definitely useful tool. Safety first is safety always. So always, err on the side of caution when this kind of developing processes within your business, just to protect yourself. You never know. And I think that with California being, the way it is with the weather and the way things are, I think we have to always be prepared for anything when it comes to doing business in California. So definitely, please, let your small businesses know. And if you're listening as a small business, please take advantage of the free resource there. And so these are some additional links related to COVID-19, as well as the wildfires. And so, there's been a lot of, especially on the procurement side for some wildfires, and I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here because I wanted to highlight the wildfires piece on procurement. There's been a lot of funding, both federal and state, geared towards disaster and wildfire cleanup within the state. And so as a lot of these small businesses have been, displaced because of, lack of work and things of that nature, if businesses are doing work in adjacent sectors or doing work in adjacent, areas of business, wildfires, for example, we were able to help, navigate some businesses that were doing, some traditional cleanup type of projects and help them navigate the procurement process to kind of shift and pivot their business into more of the disaster cleanup. So they were able to kind of still do business while they kind of navigated this COVID process. So as opportunities present themselves and things of that nature, we just want to be able to help those small businesses understand, where the opportunities present themselves for them. So just wanted to highlight and take a second on that. And then lastly here is just a resource slide. So if you wanted to take like a screenshot from your phone, that's totally fine, but don't write any of this down. These are just some links to different resources throughout our site, as well as our social media handles below. And that concludes my presentation. But if you have any questions, I'm here available for questions. And if you need to email me, please email me at chris.earl@gobiz.ca.gov. Thank you and have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Chris. That was a fantastic presentation, really informative. If folks in the audience have questions, you can put them in the Q&A. I do have one question, Chris, that has been on my mind. I would be curious to get more information about the different financing options offered by the state. I know you have the iBank program, the California Loan Fund, and CalCap, but I'd like to kind of know more about what the differences are between, and then like what businesses would you recommend approach which programs and for what reasons?
Right. In terms of the loan programs, a lot of times it's just determined by business size. I think iBank has been, I would say, the most popular and common for those smaller to medium-sized businesses. But I found oftentimes some of your mom and pop, smaller, under 5, employees, those types of businesses haven't had as much luck as some of the larger entities. And so when you talk about some of like the iBank programs, but because of iBank and the network that they have tools and programs and products that is really open to any size business and really type of any situation. I think that as you get into the granular details in terms of, credit and, all those things, and what the actual, the bit, how long the business has been in, working, and all of those details. I can't really go into that in terms of what, determinations are made there. But I think for when you look at it from a profile standpoint, iBank is a good starting point in terms of if you don't know where to go as a small business. You just like, hey, this is my goal. This is what I need. How do I get there? I think they would be a great starting point, even if their products aren't the right fit, because I think all of them are great, but it's about fit. And so I think that as they navigate the process, because iBank is our, really, is our partner in this. And so they're really aimed at helping the business get to the right product and the right program for them. So I think that going to the iBank program is really great starting point for a lot of small business. But the CA Loan Fund is not a program under my office, so I'm a little less versed on that one. But I've heard great reviews. Typically, I will get the call if something isn't going well. So a lot of times, I haven't actually had any complaints on the loan programs. I think that the typical issue with the small businesses is that if they haven't been in business or established themselves long enough, they have that challenge with the lenders of getting the funding. And so that's a lot of times where I've found that. And then they typically go into the the personal credit and those types of things. And so those are a lot of times where I've seen a lot of hangups for the small businesses. And so we do have programs within our California Business Center network that is also tied to iBank, as well as our other. So there's a larger network, but if the fit isn't at the higher level resources, we do have more local regional resources that can fit the small businesses. I think that within our overall state network, we do have a resource that could fit every type of small business that we encounter. It's kind of where I want to get. I don't want to say that iBank's going to solve every question for every small business, but I think that that's where we like to direct the small businesses first, because they'll be able to give them a great deal of information so that they can make a better educated decision in terms of where they want to go. Even if iBank is the choice, or if not, or if that program isn't the fit, they at least know what options that are in front of them. And then if they need some more assistance and handholding, we do have advisors that have the specialization in lending. A lot of times have worked in banks and things of that nature, so they can help the small business kind of hold their hand through that process. I've seen a lot of times where the small businesses are just like, hey, I need the money. Here's my credit score. I don't know a lot about this, financial stuff. I need someone that I can trust to help me through this process. And so that's why we have our centers, in our local areas to kind of assist with that. And so a lot of times we just, we try to pair local advisors that know the area, know the community, know the lenders, and that type of deal, so that, a lot of times there may be a warm introduction, or there could be some bridging of communication there. So I think all options are on the table for us, but I think we've built a network in terms of lending and that financing aspect that if we can get them into the network, kind of connected with us, we'll be able to find the right product or the right resource for them. Is kind of, the message that I want to get across. But in terms of specificity, it's really hard for me to get into the details of each, or, which one is the best fit. I love iBank, personally, but, I hate to favor one over the other and that type of deal. But, I would just say, we just let us get you into the network, and then from there we'll be able to kind of help you navigate where you need to go. I think the biggest challenge, and me being a former technical service provider, I get a lot of requests from small businesses that would say, hey, I've been referred here, I've been referred there. So a lot of times it's like, I don't want to give you another number or another email. Let me call up the person, let me make the connection directly. And so we want to make it more personalized in that way, so that it's just not, you're just passing along contact information. So that's what we really emphasize, and especially in the communities where I come from, where it's very close knit. It's really about comfort and having that relationship based kind of, thing. And so, and the empire is very, developed that way. And so I kind of understand where that, that kind of environment. And so that's, how we've tried to approach the small businesses in that way, and, really approach them about building relationships with lenders, even if they don't end up taking money from them or financing or doing business with them, building up relationships, kind of, just growing their knowledge base in terms of that. But in terms of the programming, let us get you into the network, and then we can kind of help you navigate from there. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, but just wanted to kind of highlight the network.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the message of, it's best to just get in the network and, kind of let folks guide you from there.
Right.
I'm curious, one of the things we've been hearing from a lot of our small businesses is that a lot of them have been converting to digital over the course of the pandemic, just out of need. And in terms of the Get Digital program, how would you recommend a business who's interested in that kind of get into that program? And I know some of the boot camps and stuff have already passed. Are there more coming down the pike that people could sign up for? Or I'd love to hear
Right.
your thoughts.
Right. No, great question. And thank you for having the interest in the Get Digital program. There's two answers to that question. I think one of which, if a small business wants to get engaged, there's one of which I know there's tools and resources on the website, obviously, but I think in terms of like the training and development and those types of things, and getting in contact with like a resource provider who's developing that program, we've basically work with our regional partners throughout the state so if they want to get into a digital boot camp, what's typically happened is, so for instance, I think it was Fresno, it was in Fresno. I don't want to misspeak on the organization. Fresno initially kicked it off, a resource partner. So just for example, City of Fresno said, hey, we wanted to do the Get Digital Boot Camp. We provided the resources and materials, and a partner like the Fresno SBDC, for example, they would deliver the training to the small businesses, and we would hold the workshops and all of that at the discretion of that city or chamber or what have you. But we would just provide the resources and materials, make the connection with the resource partner, and then, then from there they could recruit the businesses to hold that. So essentially it's just, recruit your businesses, we'll provide the content. It's just more so let us know so that we can, provide everything to you. So I think San Diego also took part in that. Maybe Orange County also did as well. So it's been select regions throughout the state. So if you're interested or anything like that to host something in your region, definitely please let us know. We'll be happy to. And I know there's some additional resources and things, but my counterpart in Central California kicked this off in December. So it's still new, and so we're still looking for partners to to take hold of this. So, but I know I've heard a lot of different regions are doing their own e-commerce initiatives and programs and things of that nature. So it's more just complementary. So if you have something going on in your region, feel free to use it as little as much as you want, but definitely there. It's more so just, we want to have the content available. So if, people need to utilize it at their leisure, they can have that available to them. So, yeah. So, I think that most of the small businesses that we've, talked to, we've gone through the process of partnering with a regional partner throughout the state, and then holding some type of, recruitment for that. And, so I think, you get a cohort of about 15 to 25 businesses, typically restaurants, retail type of businesses, that type of thing, a lot of brick and mortar companies. And so it was a big hit. The small businesses loved it. So definitely excited about that program. I'm looking for some takers in Southern California, to be honest, so I've been trying to pitch it to some of my regional partners as well. Like, hey, you want to do this? So definitely excited about that program. So definitely recommend.
Thank you. No, that's fantastic, and really great to get more information. I think we're going to have to talk a little bit internally about that opportunity. So with that, it's 1 o'clock, and this is a mini webinar because trying to pack as much as we can in into half an hour. I just want to check if anyone else has other questions before we close out. All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time and sharing all of this information with us. We really appreciate that. I think this has been an incredibly informative presentation. I will be sending the recording out to everyone who signed up. We'll be posting it on the city's YouTube. And also just a big thank you to Madeline for co-sponsoring this and helping to organize. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris, so much. Awesome presentation. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, all.
For having me.
Thank you, Chris.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bye.